Peace, family. My name is Vicki Dillard for African Diaspora News Channel. Thank you so much for tuning in, family. Certainly, many of you by now have heard that the United States, Donald Trump, that is, has worked to bar as it took over the presidency for G20, sought to bar South Africa, right? Well, South Africa turned around and put Trump right on in his place while he's out here playing these ridiculous and crazy games, just nonstop. Of course, I have laid the groundwork for years here on African Diaspora News Channel through some of my commentary in terms of my specific commentary. Of course, several of us have talked about South Africa. I don't mean to say that, but I'm talking about laid the groundwork to say that they were a target. And I could tell that the United States was making South Africa a target, even under the even under the Biden administration. That's how long I've been discussing this. That's what I'm trying to say. Well, in this piece here, the headline says what? South Africa is to take a break from G20 after the U.S. ban. South Africa said on Thursday that it was prepared to sit out next year's G20 meetings after being barred by the United States and did not expect other countries to lobby for its inclusion. The United States this month took over the year-long presidency of the group of leading economies after largely boycotting South Africa's tenure, including the November summit in what analysts described as an escalation of its disputes with Pretoria. Secretary of State Marco Rubio reiterated on Wednesday that South Africa would not be invited to the U.S.-run G20, citing complaints that included unfounded claims the government deliberately discriminated against the white African minority. Presidential spokesman Vincent Magwenya, I hope I pronounced his name right, said in response that South Africa would sit out the 2026 series of meetings and resume participation when the G20 presidency passes to Britain in the year's time. Somebody talk black to me, how humiliating. Quote, for now, we will take a commercial break until we resume normal programming. I'm going to say that again. He said, for now, we will take a commercial break until we resume normal program. The reason it's a commercial break, and this is me talking now, the reason I would surmise it's a commercial break, because this is a TV, this is a show, this is nothing but theater. And how many of y'all know that when you're watching little shows and little plots and plays, and when you're watching television, that's what you can take a break from TV because this is a show. And that's exactly what Donald Trump and them doing. How many of you all know that a lot of times when the United States and other Western countries, or any country for that matter, makes an excuse not to deal with another country using something as a veneer or a red herring to cover up the real reason they're doing it? How many of you all know they fear that country? A lot of times they fear them not only because of their resources, but a lot of times it's to try to punish other relationships they have with other countries. But also in terms of South Africa, it's also meant to prevent, stop, frustrate, and foil their own development. Why are you saying that, Vicki? I'm saying that it is a strategy of the enemy, whatever enemy that might be, but specifically I'm talking about the Wild Wild West. Globally speaking, whenever the West gets involved in wars and battle and dissension and fights, they're not doing it just to quote unquote win an enemy outright. They're doing it, and I've said this many, many times over the years, they're doing it to cause a disturbance, to cause dissension, because if you're in the middle of chaos and you're always fighting, whether domestically or internationally, that means you're not doing what? That means you're not posing yourself as a threat because you're not developing. You're not focused on your own country and the development of your country. You're causing chaos in the country, which means that you're less of a threat to the United States and our Western allies as a rising superpower. Do you understand? I've been saying that for a long time. Now, for whatever reason, I'm feeling led to say something that I've said before about South Africa. South Africa has been making gains, if I remember correctly, related to HIV. Medicines. When the United States snatched back their PEPFAR support and start messing with it, how many of you all know that South Africa announced what their own scientists were doing and some of the developments and gains that they made? Let me tell y'all something. I'm using that just as one example. But notwithstanding the drama that's going on in your country, your president has a very long history of entrepreneurship and business, which means that even though he does a whole lot of niceties with the United States, in my opinion, that seems like he's capitulating. The reason why, even though some of you fuss and fight about the fact that you feel like he's being too weak on the public stage, the reason why the United States and others keep their foot on South Africa's neck, not only Trump, but also the Biden administration, which I discussed, is because clearly he's doing some other stuff behind the scenes. Your country, your leadership is doing some other stuff behind the scenes that still serves as a huge threat to the United States of America and the West in terms of it being a superpower and being way, way ahead of the game. They're nervous about that. Don't forget that. My name is Vicki Dillard, beloved. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it below. Be sure to follow me at VickiPlanet.com. That's my website, and subscribe to my website there. I've got so many yummy things that I've got going. I have special academies. I have installment plans for those high-end academies. I have a low-cost monthly mastermind. My students are getting breakthroughs. I deal a lot with spiritual universal principles. So it doesn't matter what your spiritual background is or whatever your religious system is. If you have none at all, the principles in which I teach are universal, and they're applicable, and they have an effect on every area of your life. Everybody knows that everything that you see came from everything you can't see. Even modern quantum physicists and metaphysicists and scientists are admitting that everything that we see in the natural stems from something we can't see. So if that's the case, you spending time developing your spiritual powers is what should take priority over everything else. Why? Because everything you see came from there. So if you become a master in the unseen, that means you will automatically and by default see more positive results in your 3D or your physical life. Yes, go to VickiPlanet.com. That's my website to learn more. Be sure to share this broadcast. I can't wait to see you again.